just don't understand why people dislike Derek Carr. I mean, you can't make people be what you want them to be versus what they are and look at their strengths versus their weaknesses. We all have them, but we'll save that for another time. But I do want to talk about Jonathan Abrams because we all have some strong opinion. Oh, wait.
Well, I was
Got something to say about Carr.
Yeah, well, you like I said, you mentioned Cars. Like, people don't like him because he's boring. You know, you mentioned the Baker Mayfield thing. Everybody wants that great, exciting quarterback. Yeah. But the Mannings have 4 Super Bowls. Tom Brady has, 6 Super Bowls? 7? I lost count because I blacked out and gave up on that last decade of football. And Russell Wilson's got a Super. Like, the exciting guy isn't winning you Super Bowls. It's the boring guy that are bringing in rings.
And the thing with the Raiders, they want a quarterback, an old school Raider quarterback that's got swagger. And, here's kind of a Bible thumper, Derek Carr, good citizen. And, we want somebody that's a little more
So let me get this straight. Good man, married, has kids, good citizen, faithful, terrible.
Yeah, nobody wants it.
I don't get that.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's no fun.
I mean, I like guys with edge too. I get it. You need, whenever you create a team, I don't care if it's in business, if it's in your family, if it's on a team, a sports team, you need people from it's I know this word sometimes gets overused, but it's diversity. You want people with different personalities, different talents, different backgrounds, because that's like, for me, and we don't talk politics on the show, but when I talk about politics with friends, I like people from all different views. I don't like to surround myself with people who just agree with everything that I think, at least in my head at that time.
Right.
I like to hear from different people, different backgrounds, because if somebody walked a different path than I did, they're gonna be able to enrich my life, and I'm gonna learn from them. And so why some Raiders fans particularly have it out for Derek Carr so bad, I get the on-the-field stuff. You can argue some of that. You can say, hey, look, he needs to do this, this, and this. I got no problem with that. But when you make it personal, I'm tired of seeing him with his kids. Well, you know what? There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of deadbeat fathers. Those are the people you should be complaining about, not the guy who's actually doing the job he should do. But anyway, Jonathan Abrams. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Jonathan Abrams. I love this kid. We were talking with Tony Farina, our engineer, his last show before he goes back to the University of Missouri to go back to college. We're all teary-eyed. Not really. Just kidding. We love him. But Jonathan Abrams, I loved his interactions. I love what he brings. Some people are annoyed by it. Kelly, tell me why you're annoyed by Jonathan Abrams.
It was just his personality just kind of, to me, came off kind of grating, because it's like that might be his regular personality, but it's coming off like he's really playing this up for the cameras. Maybe. And like I said, he might not be. Like, the horseback riding thing with him and Furl, I thought that was kind of funny, okay, whatever, it's just kind of guys hanging out. But, like, when he keeps talking about Carr's money at the dinner and just on the practice field, like, and that's the biggest thing. It's like, I've known friends that played professional sports and everything and got hurt in practice because somebody, hit in a non-contact drill or something like that.
Yeah, that's
so when you see him doing that and stuff on the field, it's like, that's the stuff you can. And he's just, I just want to do it. No, do your job and know what you're supposed to be doing. That's half the part of being a professional.
I'm not sure if he was, trying to play it for the cameras as much as maybe that's just him trying to, interact with everybody and kind of fit in, and everybody's getting to know everybody. I thought he stole the show too. He was great in the beginning when he brought the $500 worth of snacks, and he's making a joke about it. And his interaction with Gruden, that was probably one of the highlights of the show. But the salmon thing, no big deal. I thought it was funny them riding the horses. I enjoyed the on the field portion, the football action. That's why we're watching it. And the interaction with the coaches and the player, the players interacting with each other, the coaches talking about things with each other, and then the coaches talking with the players. That's the stuff I really want to see. I don't need to see him riding on a horseback. I don't need to see him out to lunch.
No,
but I understand that because, you got to show their character. No. The reason I gravitated to the Raiders was because of characters like Ken Stabler and John Matuzak back in the day. So we do need to profile their characters.
But because you heard those stories, not because you saw them. That's the thing with those guys. That myth was built up because that story was told and told and told, not because there's cameras following these guys around and this stuff's actually happening.
It's a lot different.
So, the other thing is, like, I don't care about, like, I just want to watch them play football.
Exactly.
I don't care about practice. I don't even care about practice. I don't even care about any of that other stuff.
I like watching.
It's like, I don't care what actors do when they're not filming. I don't care what movies start. I don't care
Yeah,
about
but-
it.
but-
I just want to see the finished product. That's all I'm interested in.
Right.
But Kelly, that's fine. I mean, again, choice, right? We all get choice. We live in a free country where we get to choose what we want to see and watch and all that kind of stuff.
But I don't
Now,
have a choice. You told me I had to watch this.
Well, that's true. That's very true. You had homework. But I will tell you this. Most people, I use my wife as an example. She watches some television, and I think to myself, how can you watch this? House Hunters International. Okay, I like real estate. I like investment. I like property. I get that. I can't understand that, like, it's the same story over and over again with people. Well, they have a limited budget, $1.5 million. I'm like, what?
I'm a dog walker, and my wife is an at-home yoga instructor.
Yes.
Our budget is $6.7 million.
Right. And so, but to me, again, Jonathan Abram, yes, I get the point about the Derek Carr joke. And Derek Carr didn't seem too amused by it. So I think he was playing to the camera a little bit. But he was also trying to bond with his teammates. And I think that as a young, confident guy, you're going to push the limits until somebody tells you, okay, you pushed it too far. I think Gruden did that with the on-the-field stuff. So I wouldn't anticipate seeing it again. If we start to see it over and over again, then there's a problem.
But you're going to see it over and over again because he did it in college, too. They had to stop the spring game because he killed a kid in a non-contact, or a light contact drill, took his head off. The coach pulls him to the side, makes an example of it, and stopped the spring game because of what he did. And he's
okay, but
continuing
that does
to
not
do it.
fit in with my narrative, so stop. No, I'm just kidding. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, very special guest in the studio today, Ken Evans from the Las Vegas Stadium Advisory Board. He'll be with us to talk about the stadium and other things. He is a Raiders fan as well, so we'll talk a little bit of football with him as well. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Don't go anywhere.
Triple-digit temperatures mean it's
City of Las Vegas Fire and Rescue, Dignity Health, St. Rose Dominican Hospitals, and Southern Nevada Toyota dealers. Do one thing to protect the environment. It all starts with just one thing. August is a great month to recycle. Start with paper, bottles, and cans. Also, reuse paper and plastic bags. Or better yet, get a reusable bag for groceries. Recycling can also help clear a lot of clutter from your home, like recycling old clothes by donating them to charity, and recycling all your old electronics like TVs, computers, and cell phones at appropriate e-waste facilities. It all starts with one thing. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Your home for Los Angeles Dodgers baseball, Nevada Wolfpack sports, college football, and the NFL. KXST AM North Las Vegas, KXTE HD3 Pahrump Las Vegas, CBS Sports Radio 1140, a radio.com sports station. Sports Flash.
I'm Anthony Pierre, and the scorching hot Mets will look to complete their three-game sweep of the Washington Nationals later today at Citi Field. The Mets extended their winning streak to 8 games last night when Luis Guillorme led off the 8th inning with a game-tying pinch hit homer, the first home run of his big league career, and then J.D. Davis provided the go-ahead sacrifice fly 5 batters later to lift New York to a 4-3 victory. Davis says everyone has stepped up their game.
It's been pretty amazing how this team in this run, there's been a lot of guys where the least
least expected that come through. And just like Louis right now or tonight, it was a huge at bat. You know, it was a pinch hit. I think the count was 3-2 off Rodney, and he just didn't miss. And it was awesome for him to get his first home run in that situation.
Jacob deGrom versus Anibal Sanchez will be the pitching matchup. Like the Mets, the Houston Astros have also won 8 straight games. Houston edged Baltimore 3-2 on Friday night and then crushed the Orioles on Saturday 23-2. Yordan Alvarez finished with 3 homers and 7 RBI. Manager A.J. Hinch is impressed with his rookie.
The way that he puts his at-bats together, the production, the calmness, he's an intelligent hitter at a young age, and he doesn't miss his pitches that he's looking for. So I like how he responded to a little bit of a swing and miss last night, comes in tonight, good at-bats from the beginning.
Justin Verlander takes the hill for Houston and will look to continue his hot streak, having won his last 5 starts and striking out at least 10 in each of the last 4. To the NFL now, Oakland Raiders head coach John Gruden says he hopes to see Antonio Brown return to training camp soon. Following last night's 14-3 preseason win over the Rams, Gruden defended his star wideout following controversy over missed practices, preferred helmets, and frostbitten feet.
A lot of reports out there. I can't say I agree with all of them, certainly. But I support this guy. You know, I think that's what needs to be said. I don't know what anybody's writing or what anybody thinks, but this foot injury wasn't his fault. You know, this was a total accident.
The Arizona Cardinals cut defensive end Darius Philon after he was arrested early Friday morning for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Philon allegedly pointed a gun at a dancer in the parking lot of a strip club back in May. Jets kicker Chandler Catanzaro has decided to retire at the age of 28. And sad news, the Steelers announced on Sunday morning that wide receivers coach Daryl Drake has died at the age of 62. In golf, Patrick Reed is your leader at 14 under par in the final round of the Northern Trust. I'm Anthony Pierno.
This is Tiki Barber. We're taking long looks at every team as the 2019 NFL season is getting close. So make sure you're locked in to catch up on your favorite teams here on CBS Sports Radio.
You found the most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black. The nation and the league arrive in Las Vegas in 2020. Live from the CBS Sports Radio 1140 studios, it's Silver and Black Today. Join the conversation by calling 702-889-5978. And now, here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio. Hope you're having a great weekend. Of course, the Raiders beat the Rams 14-3 yesterday. And some breaking news, unfortunately, out of the world of the NFL. Steelers wide receiver coach Daryl Drake has died at the age of 62. Don't have any details on that. But as much as Raider fans don't like the Steelers, life is bigger than football. And so we send our best out to Steelers fans and, of course, Coach Drake's family and friends. Daryl Drake dies at the age of 62. Okay, we are now going to shift gears and talk about the stadium. That's right. Now we can call it Allegiant Stadium. We got the name on Monday, which is a big deal. And while we were out there, we got to spend some time with someone we've gotten to know and respect. And he joins us now, and that is Ken Evans. Ken is on the Stadium Advisory Board, is also the chairperson of the Community Benefits Plan. We had Peter Guzman on a couple weeks ago. Ken, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here, one, as a member of the Stadium Authority Board, as well as the chair for the Community Benefits Plan Oversight Committee. But I'll also say I'm a Raiders fan since the 70s.
Yes. So it's not only are you doing all that work to make sure the stadium project stays on time, on budget for the taxpayer money, but also you can't wait for the Raiders to get. I mean, tell me about that. I mean, you grew up in Los Angeles, you come to Las Vegas, and now the Raiders are coming here. I mean, could you have drafted in your wildest imagination a more perfect scenario for someone like you being a Raiders fan?
Would have never imagined it. For me personally, about 30 years ago, I came to Las Vegas, active military, active Air Force, eventually went on to retire. But at that time, Vegas was a lot smaller. Glad to have seen the growth. So now, about 30 years later, to see a NFL team coming here, much less my favorite team, man, it's an exciting time.
Well, and it is, and Ken, I mean, the stadium project continues to hum along. It was a big milestone on Monday. As I mentioned, you were there. A lot of the board members were there. Dignitaries, our elected officials, of course, the team officials, and folks from Allegiant Airlines. But let's back up a little bit and talk about that event and the fact that the naming rights, as you guys drafted all of the plans and have overseen the construction and the development of this project, the naming rights was a big one because that is revenue that comes
Absolutely.
in. Talk a little bit about that and what it means overall for the project now to have that done so early.
It's a great thing. It lends some financial, even more financial stability to the project. One of the things that we talked about during our July 18th meeting is the fact that the seat licenses have more than performed based on the original projections. And again, what that does is when you have that kind of revenue early, it just, again, lends even more stability to the project, as well as in the case of the seat licenses, with the additional revenue, we're already talking about doing some additional things to provide a first-class, world-class experience for our fans.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and it is such great news. And the revenue with, there was a lot of discussion, especially those who were opposed to the project to begin with, which, hey, it's within their rights. And I think some people had logical arguments for why they were opposed to it. At the end of the day, though, when you look at what this project has done, not only for paying for itself, but also what it means to the larger community, Ken, because you also head up the Urban Chamber of Commerce, this is really important for business. I think people,
absolutely,
they think of football games, they think of attendance, they think of the Raiders making money, of course, and that's what they want to do. But when it comes to small, medium-sized businesses and people around the stadium project, talk about the impact that's had so far.
It's a huge impact. From an economic development standpoint, you have obviously the direct construction efforts, whether it's employment, whether it's procurement for small businesses, or the Raiders, true to their form, they've already started some of the community engagement, which means supporting local nonprofits, contributing to charitable causes. The bottom line is there's a direct economic development impact, but in addition to that, there's an intangible benefit as well, because there are small businesses that service some of the larger businesses. They will benefit too. One of the things about the Community Benefits Plan is the idea behind it was to make sure that there would be diversity and inclusion in 3 stages: the pre-development, the actual construction, and then the ongoing operations, and then make sure that those 3 phases cover 3 areas as well. Again, employment, procurement, and community engagement. And I have to say, so far, we're not only meeting, but we're exceeding in terms of meeting the mark in those areas.
Are you surprised by that? I mean, you had that mark, and so if you hit the number, great, right? Because that's the number you set. But because you've surpassed it, and the Raiders have surpassed it, is that at all surprising to you, or did you have a sense of that early on?
No, we had a sense of it early on, and one thing I want to give the Raiders credit for is they have a culture of diversity and inclusion. There's a local media magazine called The Urban Voice, publisher Joseph Abraham. In there, Shondell Newsom, who's the chair for our Urban Chamber board, he pointed out in an article that if you look at the Raiders as an organization, they traditionally have been about diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
Whether it was bringing Art Shell on board, not only as a player, but eventually as a head coach, whether it was bringing Tom Flores on board as a first Hispanic coach. The bottom line is the Raiders are about diversity and inclusion, and that's at the employment level, the small business or procurement level, as well as community engagement. So it's really not a surprise.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal, and as we've watched it, and like I said, I had your fellow committee member Peter Guzman on a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about that too, on how the entire community is being involved. And Ken, the thing is, once that stadium is done next July 31st, and it opens so the Raiders can get in their play as well as UNLV, it's not going to stop there,
It
correct?
sure isn't. And in fact, I can tell you that way back when I attended the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Committee meetings when they were first talking about the concept of providing a stadium not only, again, for the Raiders but for UNLV, one of the points was made is the fact that, especially since this is Las Vegas, we try to bring 45 million plus tourists and visitors to this region. So we need to make sure we have a stadium that can also accommodate not only football games, but 40 to 45 special events throughout the course of the year.
Yeah.
So once again, the stadium has a 30-year life. The Raiders have given us a 30-year commitment, but part of that commitment is making sure that the stadium is there for more than just football.
That's right. So many different events that the stadium can host, everything from major political conventions. You're talking about Democrat, Republican,
Correct.
national conventions and whatnot. There's so many things that we can do with a facility of that size. Now, Ken, as the project moves forward through these milestones, we know from a construction standpoint, the raising of the roof is going to be one of the most difficult things they're going to have to do. So we'll see how
significant.
Yeah, it's very big.
And I'll just throw out there, I really appreciate it. I got a tour a couple of months ago from Don Webb. I'm actually a civil engineer from the Air Force Academy, so I also have a bit of a technical background, and I appreciate the complexity of what we're getting ready to do with that roof system. And let me tell you, that is going to be a big deal.
That is a big deal, and I know that they've done it in Europe, not on the same scale,
Right.
so it's not been done in the United States, but it looks like we got the folks over there to get it done.
Absolutely.
When you look at the project and its timeline as you continue to go on, what other concerns do you have? The hotel tax, people I think are hypersensitive that they watch it. They don't understand the waterfall fund and how that protects the taxpayer per se. But is there anything else on the horizon that you guys look at as a body and think to yourselves, okay, this is something we really need to watch? Not a problem, but just something that you're keeping a closer eye on.
I'll just, I don't want to try to speak for all my colleagues, but from my standpoint, what I'm paying attention to, again, as someone that worked with Jeremy Arguello, props to him and his team, to develop the community benefits plan, it's just a matter of watching and making sure that we build on the success that we've had during construction. AEG Facilities was announced, and you could tell from their initial orientation that they are already committed to the community benefits plan and not only meeting but exceeding the targets. We're still waiting to get an announcement about the master concessionaire, and I'm sure that they will make an effort to not only meet but exceed things as well. So I would just say, in response to your question, just a matter of continuing to build on the success that we've already had in terms of participation at the employment level, the procurement level, and the community engagement level.
Well, and as we get close to the end of this interview, and thank you again for coming in, and you are also a veteran, as you mentioned, Lieutenant Colonel, retired.
Yeah, retired Lieutenant Colonel, commanded civil engineering units in both Iraq and Afghanistan, 2008, 2010, respectively.
Well, and again, thank you for your service. Amazing. And that is, I know, too, as part of the community benefits plan, having the opportunity for veteran-owned businesses to be involved as well. And that's close to your heart, so I'm sure you're watching that closely.
Absolutely. And what I would say is I would encourage all businesses out there, especially small businesses, whether you be minority-owned, veteran-owned, or women-owned, go to the Stadium Authority website, lvstadiumauthority.com, go to the vendor tab and complete that online vendor interest form, because we want as many businesses, to get the opportunity to compete, and then obviously in keeping with the Raiders organization and respect for diversity and inclusion, we want to produce actual results. So glad to have been able to be on the show this morning, Scott. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Well, no, I appreciate you coming in, Ken, and it won't be the last time. We'll have you in again, and we'll see you out at the meetings. On the community, the last thing I want to ask you about, on the community benefits plan, there were a lot of folks upset about it at the beginning. And with now what has transpired, and clearly not only the board, but the Raiders, Stadco, and everybody has made good on those promises.
Yes.
I've always said that if you try to please everybody, you'll please nobody. But have you seen a lot of those folks who were initially very skeptical or against the project? Have you seen them come around a little bit?
I've seen a few come around. I think what we have to do is just continue to, you make a good point. You're not going to please everyone. But if we can make sure that we have a significant amount of success stories, some of which we hope would be some of the individuals that had concerns from the start, I think that will go a long way towards building the community spirit and support around the stadium.
That's great. No, I appreciate it. And Ken Evans, Stadium Advisory Board, and also the chair of the Community Benefits Plan, thank you very much for coming in, and we'll get you back in real soon. Maybe next time we'll bring you in and just talk about Raiders, how the season's going.
Hey, that'll work for me, especially if Carr's leading the way to another possible Super Bowl run.
All right.
And stay healthy this time.
That's right. All right. Ken Evans from the Las Vegas Stadium Advisory Board has been our guest. We appreciate it coming in. We're going to step aside. When we come back, the show rolls on. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. about new. Hey, and sorry, we had a little sound issue, and Brandon. Yes, no, the sound guy is me, Brandon. So if you want me fired, just let me know.
Chaz Osborne, Silver and Black today. There's our sound guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes we come back from the break, Brandon, I forget to turn the button on for the video. That's my bad. Sorry about that. But anyway, we are at a situation, though, I think, with Arden Key. I want to see him do well. It helps the Raiders do well, but I don't see it yet. The Raiders on defense had better pass rush. They had better coverage. The DBs, as we mentioned before, doing well. Clellan Ferrell did well, as we talked about as well. The offensive line, though, guys, this is the bigger concern. Gabe Jackson out. They say 6 weeks. Let's just say it's going to be 8.
Or more.
I mean, we don't know. I mean, they say it's not a tear, but at the same time, we don't know that. So we'll see. But this could be a hot mess, Kelly.
Yeah, because if there's, especially depth-wise, the Raiders don't have a ton of depth anywhere except for maybe the wide receiver core.
Yep.
You know, so the offensive line was going to be an issue with the starters. And now you're deep digging into the backups, which wasn't that deep.
Right.
It could get ugly quick. And with his injury, say it's 6 or 8 weeks, that's for him just to get back practicing back on the field.
Yeah, that doesn't mean
it's
playing.
a couple games before he's back into game shape, back into ready to go.
Right.
I mean, you're looking after the bye week at this point.
Yeah.
And by that, with the Raiders' schedule, the season could be gone by then. This team could easily start 0-6 or 0-7 with the schedule they have.
Yep.
And if that happens, this thing's done.
Yeah, well, that's when you get all the younger players in there and you get a lot more reps for guys. I thought the offensive line played pretty well last night. Coach Gruden in his press conference after the game was kind of asked about it, and he had mentioned Jordan Devey and Denver Kirkland as kind of maybe, coming in and playing a lot of minutes. So you're right. Right now it looks like a mess, and but last night was encouraging because they held up pretty good. I know it was just preseason, and you're not going against any starters, but at least it wasn't a complete mess last night.
No, it wasn't. But I just think that overall, look, you had an uphill battle brewing with the schedule. I think the trade of Kelechi Osemele now is hard. Because you traded him away.
It was hard before because you basically just dumped a salary. You got nothing for him on a team that had a ton of salary cap room. I don't understand it at all.
Well, and that's the point, though, Kelly, is not only was it tough then, although I was willing to trust the organization and say, okay, maybe there's something here I don't see. But now with the need that you have and with Incognito being out, if Derek Carr survives out of week 2, you should feel lucky, I believe, because you're not going to have anything there. And the way, as I mentioned earlier in the show, the way Brandon Parker has looked is not encouraging to me. And so now you not only are down 2 guys into week 2 that you were planning on having, but then that one of the other guys in Brandon Parker might not even be on the squad, or if he is, he might be practice squad or reserve and not play. So I just don't know what they're going to do. Is there anything out there they can do? Is there a move they can make?
Free agency for interior offensive linemen's not exciting. Chance Warmack's probably the biggest or best option out there, and I don't really see anybody running for that option. If you find out this is a little worse and he's going to be a little longer, he's a viable NFL player. He's an option you can throw in there. He's not going to get your guy killed, but there's a reason he's still a street free agent.
Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jess.
Well, they were talking about, I think Gruden was saying that game in Canada, or maybe it was Rich Gannon during the broadcast, that they're playing on AstroTurf or something up in Canada, and the starters probably won't play. So I think Gruden touched on it that next week the starters are actually going to get some good minutes in Arizona. So maybe we'll get a better look next week who's in there and which direction they're going to go.
Yeah, that's what the preseason's all about. It's going to play out, and they'll figure out what they're going to do. I just that offensive line is really just going to be. It was a beast going into the season. Now with the Gabe Jackson injury and that left side, what's going on there, especially through 2 games, it's just going to be tough. And I want to apologize too. We were supposed to have a guest on about the cryotherapy and Antonio Brown's feet. And as Chaz said, I'll give you credit on the joke, he must have gotten cold feet.
Oh,
hey.
My dad jokes.
Oh, I know.
You're starting to wear off on me, man.
No, jeez.
He gave us the cold shoulder.
Yes, when I did the pre-interview, he was pretty frigid.
Anyway, his feet are old news. We need to start talking about the helmet.
Okay, well, but the feet are one thing, but yes, the helmet is another. And to me, this whole it was interesting that Gruden decided he wouldn't talk about anything all week long with Brown, and then last night with the helmet, I think because of some of the reporting, and there's some reporting out there that is just sensationalized. I'm not criticizing people. I think it's BS. But I get why they do it, and there's a place for it. People like it. So there's been a lot of that, a lot of headlines like Antonio Brown's marriage with the Raiders is already over, blah, blah, blah. And then you have Gruden coming out and then defending him on the helmet thing. It's just interesting to me on the helmet thing that here's a guy who's had concussions. But you also have to see the ball. So there's got to be some kind of
happy
medium there at least. But again, as Jesse said earlier in the show, I don't think this is the core of the issue of why he's not on the practice field. I just don't. I don't think we have the full story.
Well, I guess he's a diva, and we kind of knew that. So he likes getting little
When
headlines.
you date crazy, you deal with crazy. They knew what they were getting into from day one.
That's right.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll take it. I mean, I think in this case, he's that kind of talent.
Right.
So, we'll see. But we're going to see what Kelly has to say because he's wearing his official Kelly's Corner hat. So when we come back from the break, we're going to go to Kelly's Corner. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
CBS Sports Radio. The only way to take Silver and Black today with you is with a radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back to the CBS Sports Radio family and Las Vegas's only, and I do mean only, All Raiders show, covering the team, the future Las Vegas Raiders, as it said on the beam that was erected. Ooh, erected. Gosh, it takes you right back to fourth grade. So we are here talking about, I want to give a shout out to my man George on Facebook.
George.
Who has been critical of my sound finger. And it's okay, dude. No, I appreciate the feedback. We love the feedback. We are not thin-skinned. I like it. It lets me know that, hey, dude, wake up and turn the sound up so the people who are listening to you can hear you. So, no, it's all good, dude. We appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening and watching, in this case, on Facebook. But it's that time of the show where everybody turns the channel. No, just kidding. Where we get our good friend, Kelly Kreiner, to opine on something that he's got a view on, and we call it, and we need theme music. We're going to work on that. Kelly's Corner.
He's like,
wait, here it is. Play it. You missed the cue, dude. Music? You're already in Columbia, aren't you? Yeah, you're in Columbia, Missouri. He tells me every time we do the rotation together, he tells me too about like in Columbia, Missouri, all the college bars, like it's like 50 cents for drinks. It's crazy. What was it, Tony? Get on. Grab that microphone around. Be careful of be careful of the camera thing. Yeah, never mind. Okay.
That's it. Good job.
Good job, Scott. Okay. All right. So Kelly's Corner. Kelly, take it away.
All right. Well, we have finally one official week of the preseason in the books.
Yes.
And the NFL's already over because after reading the internet last night, the Kansas City Chiefs are going undefeated and winning the Super Bowl because they scored 37 points on the Bengals. Not only that, like you mentioned earlier, Arden Key, apparently a Pro Bowler.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones. Oh, my God. Daniel Jones
Hall of Famer.
is the next Hall of Famer. It's like, okay,
he's a franchise quarterback. Absolutely. One
know,
drive, it shows you he's a franchise quarterback.
I know we're all excited for football, but
settle down.
Can we do the Aaron Rodgers relax real quick?
RELAX.
Yeah. I mean, and granted, for what I said about Daniel Jones, I get it for me getting just pounded by people coming after me. He had two really good throws. The slant to Tate and the touchdown, excellent throws.
Yep.
The other ones I could have made because he's throwing in zones that are wide open because nobody's showing any defense you're seeing in the season. Nobody's showing any offense you're going to see. Kyler Murray was like 6 for 6 or 6 for 7. I don't think he threw the ball past 5 yards.
Yep.
Every one of those throws you will not see in the regular season. Kingsbury's going to have a completely different offense going. That was just him getting out there, getting the ball out quick, because no one cares about what happens for the next 3 weeks. This doesn't matter.
I think Kyler Murray and Daniel Jones are Hall of Famers. Of course, I'm kidding. But no, I agree with you. This is what I was making the point earlier about Arden Key with Raiders fans. Do you remember this time last year and maybe another game or two? Chris Roarin III was the next coming of Bo Jackson, right? He was going to be the guy. We finally found the guy.
Yep.
Okay, now the Giants fans, those poor bastards, they are now thinking that Daniel Jones is going to take them back to the they're going to the playoffs this year. I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff out there with some of these one game. And you're right about the Chiefs. Like, look, Patrick Mahomes is a good quarterback. I don't care if you hate the Chiefs or not. He's going to be a good quarterback for a long time, barring injury. Okay? But don't give them the Super Bowl, guys. Come on. I mean, let's be ridiculous. Also, have you noticed, too, in the last couple of weeks, suddenly everybody's also on the Steelers jock? Oh, they're going to be mad because everybody's giving the Browns attention. Mad doesn't win ball games, folks. Doesn't.
No, the Steelers still win in that division, though.
Oh, I agree with you. I think the Browns are overrated, but I'm just saying.
Cleveland's offensive line is going to be a massive issue for this team, and everybody loves the Baker Mayfield swagger and everything. That's awesome.
Right.
Till things start going south.
I'm actually down with the Ravens in that division.
Oh, yeah, the Ravens.
Because they're mad.
Oh, yeah.
Right? No, I
But-
think
but
the
the
Ravens are going to surprise them.
But the Bengals have to win that division because they've got a guy who used to hang out with McVay as their coach.
That's a good
Of
angle.
course, their offensive line's worse than everybody else. I mean, their offensive line's worse than the Raiders at this point. I mean, lose Jonah Williams for the season with a shoulder injury. Bowling retired. I mean, they were their right tackle is just abysmal to begin with. He's a turnstile, and so yeah, the Bengals got no shot. They're done.
Olé.
They're looking at the draft for next year. The Dalton replacement maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just love the overreaction after week 1. And it gets really bad after week 3 when the starters play a half or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you've still got a second half of football where nobody's playing.
Right.
Well, and I think it's hard to know. I mean, I look at the NFL and I look at the fans, and of course, our listener base is our Raiders fans. But Raiders fans, I swear, it's like somebody who's got multiple personalities that's on lithium, and one day you see them and they're like the most joyful, awesome person ever, and then the next day it's like every player on the team might as well be Charles Manson because and I get it after the years and the misery and all that stuff and just wanting to get back to where the franchise was.
Yeah.
I get it, but slow the roll. It's like, hey, wait it out. They got another preseason game next week.
Yeah, next week's going to be a big one. I think
Arizona.
We're going to play a lot of starters next week, so we'll get to see a lot. We'll have a lot more information on which way the team's going.
Is week 3 the one in Canada? Or is it
Yes.
So
Week 3's in
week
Canada.
3 is the one in Canada.
But they're saying because of the AstroTurf.
So yeah,
the
next
Packers
week will be the Raiders
kind of
showcase game instead of the third week.
right.
when
And I think for the
okay.
Packers too. I don't know if that matters, but
Yeah, and we're going to have a guest on next week, actually, fellas, about Canada, about Winnipeg, and that game actually isn't selling like they thought it would.
no, they're less than 9,000 tickets sold. They got 33,000 seats.
You're charging a super premium for
Yeah.
like
$150 is what they charge for the
but
Grey
don't
Cup
they get?
tickets.
It's Canada? They get free healthcare. Don't they get free football tickets?
Well, no, I was gonna say. Plus, what's the exchange rate now, man? The
It's like
Canadian dollar's
1.5.
struggling a little bit.
Yeah, it's like
2
1.5.
Molsons to every dollar.
Oh, nice.
2 for 1 beers. I'm all for that. But no, you're paying a super premium for preseason football. I don't care if I'm a football fan. I'm not paying for preseason. When I had my season tickets for the Colts back when I lived in Indiana, first year I gave them away, but nobody wanted them.
Right.
Then I figured out if you donate them to charity, you get the full value as a tax write-off. So I
Nice.
donated them to charity for a charity auction.
Right.
But no one would go to a preseason game, and I already paid for those.
Right.
And I wouldn't go.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm paying a premium to go.
And now you're not going to see starters. They're saying Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers isn't going to play, and obviously Carr.
And that's the thing,
Antonio Brown.
you know those guys aren't playing.
No.
Well, and that's the crux of the argument with the preseason too. Is you're not playing anybody, and so nobody wants to see the games.
Maybe
so
they should get rid of 2 preseason games and
no
add 2 regular season
Who would
games.
ever think of that?
I'm all for that,
Food
by
for
the
thought.
way.
Yeah, but again, we went down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I get it. And if you're going to have preseason games, why not just have, like you said, 2, and then you're going to see starters in those 2 games. At least the first one, okay, maybe you see a quarter. The second one, you're going to see a half, and at least I get to see some quality ball, and I start to see guys who might actually be on the team, and go from there. But yeah, it'll be interesting how they work that out in this next collective bargaining agreement and how it all takes. I think one game will go away. I think both sides will agree to that. And to your point, right, was add the games but increase the buy number.
Yeah,
the international piece.
Add the 2, if you add the 2 preseason games or get rid of 2 preseason, add 2 regular season, add another bye week. Give every team 2 bye weeks.
Yeah.
And I talked to somebody that I don't know how they got they sent me a Twitter thing, and it was trying to go over the math of how difficult and stuff and things like that would be. And I'm like, no, it's not. You add an extra week in the season, give everybody an extra week off. If you can't figure that out, you're probably, we're not splitting the atom here. We're adding a week and giving another guys off.
Right.
It's like, because the bye weeks are never fair anyway, because
No.
they're always different. No one wants the early bye week. Everybody wants the late bye week. You don't get that.
Right. Now
Some
you can
people have it in week 3. Some people have it in week 10.
Right.
This way with 2, at least every team's getting an early one, every team's getting a late one.
Yep.
You don't need 12 games on a Sunday. It's nice, but you can cut that down.
Sure, and everybody's going to watch anyway. You got all those other games going, so that's a great idea. I like that.
I like it too. There we go. another one in the books. We're going to step aside for a break. Yes, you will silence during the break.
Sorry.
But we will smile at you. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio. Don't go anywhere. We'll close out the show next.
Meet the boys in blue.
Well hit.
The law office of Michael A. Troiano is a proud supporter of all things Las Vegas, including its people, specializing in legal representation for all criminal defense matters ranging from misdemeanors to the most serious felonies. Attorney Michael Troiano provides clients with the legal strategy and professional representation needed in court. If you or a loved one find yourself in a legal situation and need a tough defense on your side, Michael Troiano can help. Call now for a free consultation, 702-843-5500, or learn more at TroianoVegasLaw.com.
You own rental property and you want to get the most out of your investment so you can get the most out of life. That requires hassle-free property management, and managing your rental properties can be time-consuming and stressful. Renters Warehouse believes you deserve a partner who gets where you're coming from. They know real estate investments because their CEO has been a real estate investor since he bought his first duplex in college. And that ground-level understanding was the inspiration of creating a process that's helped over 50,000 real estate investors, from people who've inherited homes to sophisticated investors with over 1,000 properties. Today, Renters Warehouse manages over 22,000 homes across the country, making them the largest real estate investment company in America. Join the thousands and buy or sell your next rental on the Renters Warehouse online marketplace and experience stress-free property management today. Visit renterswarehouse.com and take advantage of their free rental property analysis. Before you know it, you'll be watching your properties perform while you do more of what you love with the people you love. Renters Warehouse. List, invest, rent, all under one roof.
Do one thing to protect the environment. It all starts with just one thing. August is a great month to help out the environment by improving your gas mileage. Make sure your tires are properly inflated and heavy items like golf clubs aren't stored in your trunk. Take your car in for a tune-up to ensure it's running at peak performance. And when the weather is nice, walk or bike to your destination to enjoy a beautiful summer day. It all starts with one thing. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Prescription opioids can be addictive and dangerous.
I was given a prescription opioid pain medication, and within only a few months, I was completely addicted. I lost everything. I had to leave school, and I started to watch my life slip away. I want people to know that these drugs are addictive. One prescription can be all it takes to lose everything.
Prescription opioids. It only takes a little to lose a lot. Visit cdc.gov/rxawareness.
This message, developed by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, sponsored by the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
The Dodgers take on the Diamondbacks today at noon on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
You found the most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black. This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
That's a get.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140, the home stretch. And down the stretch they come. I grew up next to Del Mar, sorry. The horse racing this time of the year, right?
That's
right,
right.
Chaz?
And I'm missing Delmar.
I miss Delmar.
I was just
a
down
lot.
there. I didn't get to make it for a day.
I miss Churchill Downs back home.
Yeah,
Churchill's
I know.
great.
And for those of you who are members of PETA who are cursing me because I like horse racing, sorry. But anyway, we are back here as we get ready to close out the show. It's been a busy, busy week in Raider Nation. The stadium naming, the topping out, Antonio Brown's feet, his head, in more ways than one, the helmet and his head, perhaps.
Yep.
And then, of course, the game last night, which was fun to watch at times. What about, guys? We didn't see a lot from a lot of the running backs, but we did see DeAndre Washington get in there as well. How do you guys? I mean, when we look at this, we will hopefully see Josh Jacobs now coming in. Looks like we'll see him this week against Arizona.
Yep.
But what do you guys think about that running back situation? I think it's going to be much like it was last year with the addition of Jacobs, and that's it. But there seems to be kind of a spot there that someone's going to have to go away, right? I mean, you can't have 6 running backs unless somebody's playing special teams. But
Peterman steps up, becomes the featured back.
I was going to say, especially when you've got the running ability at quarterback that we now have.
After the Peterman touchdown, I tweeted out a Seinfeld meme, a GIF.
Lane?
I don't think people.
Jay Peterman.
If you were under 35, I don't think you got
Everybody knows Seinfeld.
Peterman.
You would be surprised the people that don't.
Really?
If you're probably 30 and under, it just wasn't. Probably wasn't your thing. And the bad thing about it, if you try to get somebody now to watch them, because the comedy still works.
Yeah.
But every single Seinfeld episode could be fixed with the cell phone.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
And
That's
now
true.
people don't understand what it's like to not have that, so they don't understand the problem of waiting for a payphone in a Chinese restaurant.
Right.
It's funny you mentioned this. I was sitting with some guys at the Cigar Box where Kelly and I go, and Chaz will show up occasionally and drink a coffee or something. But we were down there, and we were talking about movies. They're rebooting John Hughes movies from the 80s, the stuff we grew up with, Chaz, like 16 Candles, Home Alone. Now, and my wife looked at me and she said, how the hell are you going to do? A kid's got a cell phone, you got the internet. Like even if the parent did leave them at home, within 3 minutes you would get a message saying that your kid's at home.
Right.
Well, not only that, but how bad of a parent are you? You realize you don't have your kid, you don't call the cops, and the cops are at the house to get your kid.
Right.
Because maybe you're trying to get rid of them.
Oh.
I don't know.
We got enough kids.
I think we might have discovered one of Kelly's childhood memories.
Kelly was left at home too.
No, but that's the thing. It's interesting that you go back and you look at all of these movies and all of this stuff culturally and how technology's changed that. And even we talk about technology, the one thing that I can tell you after one full week in the NFL in the preseason is the new pass interference rule.
Way to bring it back.
Yeah.
Thank you
was
very
nice.
much. I'll be here all week. That rule is the most asinine thing I have ever seen, and it already has shown after 1 week that you can't do it, and it's going to ruin the game. Yet we overreact because the Saints got screwed really 2 years in a row. One was because of their play, one was because of the referee. But you can't overcorrect in society and in sports in the NFL. We want to overcorrect on everything. Guess what? Mistakes happen. I made a lot of mistakes in my life.
No.
And there's people out there who tell you all about them. But you know what? You move on. You move forward. You try to make it better. But Kelly, what they've done with this interference rule, and Chaz, I want you to talk about this too, it makes no sense.
I have no problem with the interference rule. They've
Of
been
course you don't.
They've been using it in the CFL for years. But here's the thing.
Oh, yeah, the CFL. What a juggernaut.
If it works in the CFL, it can work in the NFL. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that
Right, that's why I've always said that the
technology
Rouge
may be a little better.
That's why I always said the NFL needs the Rouge. And if you don't know what the Rouge is, sorry.
Well, but then everybody get them because they basically made it now to where everybody kicks it out of the end zone anyway. So that's you wouldn't have a Rouge; it'd be useless.
I love Kelly. Thank God we found
But the thing is, everybody's throwing flags on stuff now just to see how this is going to work. That's not going to be thrown in regular season,
Right.
Because you're not going to waste that like a regular challenge. You're seeing more stuff now. The one I want to see, I can't remember what website it was. They put an article about the obvious pass interference call in the Chiefs game that wasn't called.
Yeah.
and they're bringing up the fact, well, it didn't matter for the game. Are we still going to call it? And that's a big issue. But that's every if the game's all over and it's they're not calling holding, they're not calling that stuff for the most part unless it's blatantly obvious. They're like, we want to get out of here,
right?
But
you keep the game moving.
Yeah, I've got no problem with the pass interference stuff because on a blatant call like that, it costs the Saints a trip to the Super Bowl.
Right. I've got no problem with it.
That needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
If it's 2nd and 5 in the second quarter of a preseason game, nobody cares about that.
Right.
But you're seeing the coaches throw the flags.
Yeah, but you can't
see how this is
how
working.
It works. Right. They're testing the system. But Chaz, you can't institute a new rule and then only call it selectively.
Well, could the Rams have called one last night? That first Glennon, that 38-yard pass to J.J. Nelson. Could the Rams have said, "Well, J.J. Nelson pushed off"? Let's throw and the replay, it looked like J.J. Nelson didn't even catch the ball. So now are they going to be able to look at that and say, "Wait a minute, now he dropped the pass. We can use that"? No, we can't use that because it's only looking at the interference.
Because that's why you're making which call you are.
And it just goes and goes. It goes around and around from there.
Well, we'll talk about this in coming weeks because I think it's only going to get worse. A couple reminders. Go to london2019.silverandblacktoday.com. You can find a link to it on our Twitter handle as well as our football sweepstakes cards to benefit the Javonte Woods Foundation. Make sure you check that out. The football cards are selling literally like hotcakes, man. They're moving.
Yeah, those are great.
Those are very cool, and it goes to a good charity. We will be live from the Javonte Woods Golf Tournament, Ickey Woods Golf Tournament here in Las Vegas, September 8th. I think it's the 8th. But we'll be live from the tournament as well. Also, some other live announcements coming up very soon. We're going to be out taking the show on the road for some Raider games at some local establishments. We'll bring that to you as well. Next week, a reminder, we're only on for an hour. We have Dodger baseball. We get preempted very rarely by Dodger baseball. Next week is one of those days, so we'll only be with you for an hour, so we will not have video next week, but we will have content for you, and we'll watch, and I will complain again about the pass interference rule, and Kelly will tell me how much he loves it. So some things in life are automatic.
You'll complain about something. I'll explain why you're wrong. And
we'll leave it at that.
And then Chaz will be in the middle saying, I love you guys.
You guys. Can we all just get along?
Chaz will be saying silver and black today.
All right. Well, we're gonna Tony missed his cue there. I mean, dude.
He checked out an hour ago, man.
He's back in Missouri already. All right. For my co-hosts, Kelly Kreiner and Chaz Osborne, I am Skalka Branson. As always, thank you guys. Without you, we don't exist. We're not here. You guys are the best listeners and viewers there are. We appreciate it. Until next week, may the autumn wind always be at your back. We will talk to you here on the Silver and Black Today on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loan.